You take a very close look at the Disney Plus business model by the Walt Disney Company, by Disney CEO Bob Iger, and really combine all of the failures over the years, which actually equals to billions of dollars in losses. We know that Bob Iger recently is beginning to go into damage control, especially after Star Wars screenwriter and director Tony Gilroy came out weeks ago, as you may recall, really exposing the fact that Disney just doesn't really have the money anymore. They don't really have the funds anymore to really keep pumping out TV shows on Disney Plus like they once did 3-4 years ago, when things really began to hit their peak level.
Watch the series and it's just hot garbage. It still has right now on IMDb a 3.7 out of 10. That's like Snow White level bad. It's the worst thing that Disney streaming has ever produced. So these are the reviews on IMDb. You can see here, 52% now giving it a 1 star.
What if Disney's glittering streaming empire is secretly on the verge of collapse? On the surface, Disney Plus looks like a success story, a platform packed with blockbuster franchises, beloved characters, and endless nostalgia. But dig a little deeper, and the cracks start to show. Despite the colorful branding and bold promises from CEO Bob Iger, Disney has quietly racked up billions of dollars in losses through its streaming venture. And now, the very foundation of Disney Plus is being shaken by cancellations, content purges, and a stunning lack of funds.
Now, of course, with the Walt Disney Company already dealing with serious financial setbacks for Disney Plus, and even screenwriter and director, as I pointed out before, of Star Wars calling out how Disney doesn't have funds available anymore for Disney Plus shows. Already Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is doing damage control in the way that we would have never imagined. Now, this is all to protect the company as it goes through its financial collapse for streaming. Iger recently delivered the following.
Iger insists that everything is fine, that Disney Plus is stronger than ever. But is that the truth, or just corporate smoke and mirrors? In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on Disney's streaming struggles, the public spin versus the financial reality, and why trusted creators like Star Wars' Tony Gilroy are saying the quiet part out loud. Disney just doesn't have the money anymore. This isn't just about one company's strategy. It's a story of a cultural empire under pressure, fighting to maintain the illusion of success, while the numbers tell another story entirely.
First Ironheart reactions are in. Does it defy the haters? Or is it another skippable series? It's always about you, right? It's always about the audience. It's amazing. It doesn't matter if it's the 2024 election or whether it's a Disney streaming product. It's always about like how evil is the actual voters? How evil are the audience?
Ready to see what's really going on behind the mouse ears? Let's dive in. When Disney Plus launched in late 2019, it seemed unstoppable. The platform exploded with subscribers, reaching over 100 million in record time, fueled by fan-favorite franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar. Disney Plus became the crown jewel in Bob Iger's streaming strategy. Shows like The Mandalorian, WandaVision, and Loki captivated audiences and gave Disney a dominant presence in the streaming wars. But behind the excitement was a business model that was never truly sustainable.
And I pointed this out so many times, is that he should be called Bob Iger, because all he does is lie to not just the shareholders and the investors, but also to the loyal customer base.
Disney poured billions into content creation, greenlighting numerous high-budget shows per year across Marvel and Star Wars without a long-term plan for profitability. For a while, the hype masked the overspending. But as the global economy shifted and subscriber growth slowed, RIA started to catch up. And that's when the cracks began to show. The losses weren't just minor bumps in the road. By 2023, Disney reported billions of dollars in combined streaming losses, much of it tied directly to Disney Plus. What had started as a bold digital gamble was now looking like a financial drain. An expensive experiment in brand expansion that was no longer paying off. The high-volume content strategy that once defined Disney Plus was becoming its biggest liability.
We know that he does have very serious plans to step down by 2026 sometime, to have somebody else come on board to take on the mantle of Disney CEO, and honestly, I think it's very unlikely that we're going to get anybody better. If anything, we're probably going to get somebody just as bad, if not worse, than Bob Iger that's going to please the top 3 shareholders, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. However, this is where it begins to get very serious when Bob Iger gets very defensive and gets very, of course, argumentative with those in the public.
The situation took a dramatic turn when Star Wars Andor creator Tony Gilroy dropped a revelation that sent shockwaves through the industry. During the press tour for Andor Season 2, Gilroy didn't hold back. He bluntly stated that Disney no longer had the money to sustain its Disney Plus production model. This wasn't a disgruntled insider or a rumor from anonymous sources. This was a respected filmmaker who had worked directly with Disney, publicly confirming what many had suspected. Disney's streaming engine was on fumes. Gilroy's comments were more than just a critique. They were a public exposure of a financial truth.
The fact that he's literally admitting that they are cost-cutting on Disney Plus to focus more on the theater experience, right? Like movies in the actual theaters. That's literally admitting that you have a problem with Disney Plus. And the fact that they're also cost-cutting, they're slashing funds for their projects, and they're also slashing the number of projects releasing a year, is also pointing to exactly what Tony Gilroy literally admitted and exposed, is that Disney, they just don't have the money anymore.
Disney had tried to bury under PR spin and optimistic investor calls. His remarks aligned with what industry analysts and fans alike had noticed: fewer releases, shrinking budgets, and a retreat from the high-concept, high-cost content that once defined the platform. What made Gilroy's words hit harder was Disney's complete silence in response. No pushback, no clarification, just crickets. That kind of non-response spoke volumes. And in an industry where perception can shift overnight, Gilroy had essentially confirmed that Disney Plus was no longer the aggressive juggernaut it had once been. He peeled back the curtain, and what was behind it was a company desperately trying to stop the financial bleeding. Faced with mounting criticism and Gilroy's damning admission, Bob Iger moved quickly into damage control mode, but not in a way that inspired confidence. Instead of acknowledging the financial strain or offering a clear vision forward, Iger opted for a defensive tone that only raised more eyebrows. He made a public statement claiming that Disney was more than proud of its Disney Plus financial standing and assured shareholders and customers alike that everything was looking brighter, both in the short and long term. But in the same breath, he denounced destructive opinions and labeled any dissenting voices as politically motivated attacks. It was a strange pivot, essentially telling critics that their concerns weren't valid unless they came from a place of blind loyalty. According to Iger, if you questioned Disney Plus's value or direction, you weren't providing feedback. You were part of a political machine spreading false narratives. This tactic didn't just dismiss genuine audience frustration. It alienated the very user base Disney needed to win back. Instead of addressing complaints about rising subscription fees, shrinking content libraries, and fewer shows, Iger spun a corporate tale that sounded detached from reality. He insisted that cost-cutting and content removal were part of a plan to streamline the user experience. But to fans who saw beloved content disappearing and prices going up, it felt like a slap in the face. In trying to deflect criticism, Iger made the issue feel even more personal and revealed just how out of touch Disney's top leadership had become. Despite Iger's defensive rhetoric and public reassurances, the real picture behind Disney Plus is hard to ignore, and it all points to deep financial strain. For a company that once prided itself on high-budget content and streaming dominance, the signs of contraction are undeniable. Disney has lost billions of dollars over the past few years through its streaming ventures, and Disney Plus has borne the brunt of that collapse. This is why Lucasfilm has begun canceling multiple Star Wars shows, and why the company quietly ditched its ambitious plan to release 3 or Star Wars series per year. Now that number has been slashed to just 1 Star Wars show annually. As of now, all eyes are on Ahsoka Season 2, which is essentially the last major hope for Star Wars content on the platform in the near future. Marvel isn't faring much better. The studio, which used to dominate with constant content drops, is now also seeing major pullbacks. Fewer series, reduced budgets, and smaller production slates signal a shift away from the massive content pipeline Disney had once relied on to keep subscriber numbers high. What we're witnessing is a company retreating, not because it wants to, but because it has no other choice. Whether they admit it or not, Disney simply doesn't have the money to maintain its once expansive streaming model. And no matter how Iger frames it, whether it's streamlining, reallocating, or refocusing, fans can see that the magic is thinning out. While Bob Iger attempts to paint a picture of optimism, the public isn't buying. The backlash is growing louder. Viewers, investors, and even industry insiders have begun to see through the corporate doublespeak and recognize the contradictions in Disney's messaging. Iger claims Disney Plus is stronger than ever, yet at the same time admits they are cutting content, raising prices, and shifting their focus away from streaming altogether. That's not growth, that's retreat, and fans know it. His call for people to remain civil and to avoid political bias is also being seen as highly hypocritical, considering Disney itself has been accused of heavily engaging in political messaging over the years. From the Star Wars sequels to the live-action remakes, viewers have often criticized the company for pushing agendas that feel more like lectures than entertainment. Even major creative voices like Tony Gilroy, writer and director of Andor, have pulled back the curtain, revealing just how strained the company's finances really are. Gilroy's statement that Disney, say, doesn't have the money to fund new shows anymore was a blow to Iger's narrative and a rare moment of public honesty. At the end of the day, many fans feel betrayed. They're paying more for less, watching beloved franchises become sidelined, and being told everything is fine when the writing is clearly on the wall. Iger may be trying to maintain control, but the public sentiment is shifting, and fast. With the streaming business floundering, Disney is now doubling down on theatrical releases. Bob Iger openly admits that the company is shifting its focus from Disney Plus to the cinema experience, aiming to redirect funding and resources into big-screen projects. On paper, this might sound like a strategic pivot, but in reality, it's more like a retreat. The move is being framed as a positive step, an investment in better filmmaking experiences for cast and crew, and supposedly a more immersive experience for audiences. But the truth is more sobering. Disney is cutting back on stream because they have no choice. The billions lost through Disney Plus over the years have left the company scrambling to regain profitability wherever it can. This shift also means fewer projects for fans to enjoy at home. Where there were once multiple Star Wars or Marvel shows each year, now the plan is to release only 1 Star Wars show annually, a drastic reduction from the streaming boom of just a few years ago. Meanwhile, Iger's justification for removing content and hiking prices on Disney Plus, calling it a streamlined experience, isn't landing well with subscribers. People know what this really means: less content, higher prices, and a company backing away from its streaming promises. Instead of innovating or addressing the root causes of the losses, Disney is falling back on its old theatrical model. But even that is a gamble in today's market, where audience trust has been eroded and box office success is far from guaranteed. In a last-ditch effort to maintain control of the NAR, Bob Iger has launched a full-scale damage control campaign, one that leans heavily on denial and deflection. Rather than confronting the root issues facing Disney+, Iger has chosen to dismiss legitimate criticism as political propaganda. He claims that any negative portrayal of Disney's streaming business is driven by political agendas, not financial facts. This rhetoric is not only defensive, it's strategically misleading. By labeling dissent or disappointment as politically motivated, Disney seeks to invalidate real concerns from fans, customers, and even its own shareholders. Iger continues to emphasize how bright the future looks financially, despite overwhelming evidence of budget cuts, content removals, and a drastic slowdown in production. His tone has become more combative, calling for people to act civil and accusing critics of ruining the experience for others. But for many, words and actions. You can't raise prices, cancel content, slow output, and then act as though everything is thriving. This denial only further widens the trust gap between Disney and its audience. Instead of transparency and accountability, fans are met with vague optimism and contradictory statements, a pattern that's becoming all too familiar under Bob Iger's leadership. As the Walt Disney Company faces unprecedented challenges, the focus is gradually shifting to what lies ahead and who will lead it. Bob Iger has publicly stated that he plans to step down as CEO by 2026, the decision widely believed to have been pressured by Disney's own board of directors. Despite his claims of a bright future, the internal reality suggests a company desperate for new leadership and a fresh strategic direction. But here's the concern. Will his replacement be any better? With powerful investment firms like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street holding dominant influence over Disney's decisions, likely that the next CEO will serve the interests of these corporate giants rather than the fans or creative talent. Many fear that Iger's successor could be equally entrenched in the same philosophies and business models that have led to Disney's current problems. Disney's future now hinges on whether it can course-correct in time. That means reevaluating its content strategies, addressing fan dissatisfaction, and being honest about its financial standing. If not, the streaming collapse may just be the beginning of a broader decline across all Disney divisions, from parks to merchandise to its theatrical releases. For now, Bob Iger continues to defend the company's decisions, but his credibility is wearing thin. With fewer shows, higher prices, declining subscriber satisfaction, and internal tension mounting, Disney stands at a crucial crossroads. What happens after Iger steps down will be a defining chapter, not just for the company, but for the future of mainstream entertainment.